The late 14th century presented the Catholic Church with an extraordinary crisis, the simultaneous reign of three popes. This situation, known as the Western Schism, puzzled and divided the faithful and raised fundamental questions about the legitimacy and authority within the Church. How did such a fragmented leadership emerge, and what events led to the Catholic world being torn between multiple pontiffs? Understanding the origins of this unprecedented schism involves delving into a complex web of political maneuvering, personal ambition, and deep-seated rivalries that began decades earlier. This exploration reveals not only the immediate causes of the schism but also the broader implications for the Church's unity and spiritual authority. For nearly 2,000 years, the Pope has served as the highest spiritual leader for Catholics globally. However, in the late 14th century, Catholics faced an unprecedented situation with three competing popes. How did this multitude of popes arise? And who among them was legitimate? The roots of this papal dilemma trace back to 1296 when King Philip IV of France decided to impose taxes on the Church. This move offended Pope Boniface VIII, given the clergy's political influence, prompting him to issue the Unam Sanctum, a bold proclamation asserting the Pope's supreme authority over earthly rulers. In retaliation, King Philip accused Boniface of heresy and attempted to arrest him through a violent raid. Though Boniface survived the attack, he died shortly thereafter. After a brief papacy by his successor, Pope Clement V, a French diplomat, was elected in 1305. Seeking peace in the conflict between England and France, Clement moved the papal seat to Avignon in 1309, a city near France but controlled by a church vassal. The papacy remained in Avignon through the reigns of 7 popes until the current pope returned to Italy in 1376. However, he died suddenly a few months later, necessitating an immediate papal election in Rome, where no election had occurred for over 70 years. The Romans, determined to restore Rome as the center of Western Christendom, pressured the cardinals to elect an Italian pope. Amid the chaos, the cardinals elected the Neapolitan Archbishop of Bari as Pope Urban VI. Initially seen as a safe choice, Urban soon attempted to reform the Church by limiting the cardinals' wealth. In response, the cardinals declared the election invalid due to pressure from the Roman mob, denouncing Urban as a usurper. They elected Pope Clement VII in a new conclave. Clement tried to excommunicate Urban, who refused to acknowledge Clement's authority or that of the cardinals. Urban appointed new cardinals and established himself in Rome, while Clement and his supporters returned to Avignon. Thus, the schism began, splitting Western Christendom between two capitals, each with its own pope and court of cardinals. As popes from each faction died, their cardinals continued to appoint successors, prolonging the crisis for decades. This situation had little effect on most ordinary Catholics, as it did not lead to significant doctrinal differences. Instead, the conflict unfolded in the political arena, forcing European rulers to choose sides in the struggle for spiritual and political dominance. Only a pope could call a general council to resolve the issue, but neither side was willing to do so. In 1409, a group of cardinals from both factions took matters into their own hands, claiming the right to call a council since both popes were disputed. At this council, they deposed the 2 popes and elected a new one. However, both the Avignon and Roman popes refused to recognize this council, resulting in 3 competing popes. This situation persisted until the Council of Constance in 1417, where the popes from the Roman and newly created Third Lines resigned, and a new pope, Martin V, was elected. Martin excommunicated the remaining Avignon pope, finally ending the schism after 39 years. According to the Church's official records, the Roman line was always the true papal authority. Nevertheless, the schism's existence highlights that even those expected to be devout can be entangled in power struggles. The presence of 3 popes simultaneously during the late 14th century was the result of a complex interplay of political power struggles, personal ambitions, and significant historical events. Beginning with King Philip IV of France's confrontation with Pope Boniface VIII, through the Avignon papacy and the subsequent return to Rome, these tensions set the stage for the Western Schism. The election of Pope Urban VI and the contentious response from the cardinals, who then elected a rival pope, Clement VII, split the church between Rome and Avignon. Attempts to resolve this crisis, including the Council of Pisa in 1409, only exacerbated the situation by introducing a third pope. It was not until the Council of Constance in 1417 that the schism was resolved with the election of Pope Martin V. This period highlighted the vulnerabilities within the Church's hierarchy and underscored the susceptibility of even the most revered religious institutions to political and personal conflicts. Ultimately, the Western Schism serves as a profound example of how ecclesiastical unity can be threatened by external pressures and internal discord.